President Trump just declared war on credit card interest rates. He declared that on January 20th, he would like to institute a one-year cap of 10% on credit card interest rates. So what's the deal? Is this a good idea? A 10% cap on credit card interest rates could save Americans billions of dollars a year. By my calculation, they could maybe save as much as $80 billion collectively because of that cut in the interest rate. So why just a one-year cap? If it's a good idea, why not make it perpetual? Well, I think Trump is doing two things here. The first thing is that he is looking at the affordability crisis and he's seeing what he can do to get a few more dollars in Americans' pockets before the midterm election. I think he also recognizes that if he can keep it to a single year, he might be able to convince the companies not to make any significant changes. If they don't make any changes and they just swallow the cost of that decrease, this could be a great thing for any American holding credit card debt. However, if there's any chance that this is a structural change, the credit card companies would have to do something drastically different. You see, the average credit card interest rate is 24%. So cutting it all the way down to 10% would be cutting it more than in half. That would be catastrophic to these businesses. But here's the thing. It wouldn't just be an impact on their bottom line. They would have to make changes. They would lose probably around 25 to 30% of their top line revenue. And at least half of that is used to cover people who just don't pay them back at all. That means that they would have to do what they could to fill that financial hole. And one of the ways they would do that is to cancel a lot of people's cards. A lot of people would lose access to credit cards. That means that they would have to go to other forms of debt when they run into trouble, or they wouldn't have access to credit at all. The other thing they'll do is they might cut back. So someone who might have a credit limit of $4,000 or $5,000, they might cut them back to $2,000 or $3,000. But that means that it will increase your credit utilization, which means that your credit score will go down. And if you're already on the bubble of, say, 700 or 680, and your credit score goes down another 10, 15, or 20 points, simply because your credit utilization went up, you may be pushed into a lower credit bracket. Other forms of credit that you might seek, like a car note or a mortgage, will end up being a lot more expensive. But these credit card companies may not just leave it at that either. It's possible that they will cut back on the benefits that they give card holders. So all those points you're earning might be worth a lot less. It's very possible that the credit cards wouldn't want to make all these changes. It's extremely expensive for them to acquire a customer. And the idea of losing those customers now could have implications for 10, 15 years. If this rate cut actually happens, they may swallow it and try to get through that year. But if there's any chance that this will go on beyond that year, they're almost certainly going to make significant changes to their policies and to the people that they approve. There's a macroeconomic reason why if half the people in this country get their credit cards canceled, why it could be really bad for the US economy. The US economy is heavily dependent on consumer spending. Even if you aren't using consumer debt to make your purchases, if you have to manage your month-to-month budget a little bit tighter so that you make sure you don't run out of money using a debit card, you might spend less than you normally would. As individuals, that would be a good thing. It's always a good thing for us as individuals to consume less and to spend less, and certainly not to carry credit card debt. But that could be really bad for the US economy. You see, about 70% of GDP is dependent on consumer spending. This could be a bad idea from a long-term standpoint, even if it sounds like a great idea to us individually. The real question is, can Trump even do this? Well, the answer is kind of complicated. Technically, it would need to be a law passed by Congress, but Trump has shown that he is not afraid to use regulatory influence in order to bully industries into doing what he wants them to do. So it's very possible that he could turn the regulatory power of the federal government onto these companies and make their life very miserable unless they comply and lower their interest rate. I think the important thing to keep in mind is that if you're not carrying a credit card balance from one month to another, this is not going to impact you at all. That means it really behooves you to do everything you can to pay off those credit card balances and to stay out of the fray. Pay your bills, get out of credit card debt, and then you don't have to worry about stuff like this.